Thank you very much. And I have to say that as a representative from the former cancer cooperative groups, I think it's very important to acknowledge the tremendous and extremely positive impact that the involvement of the IOM in our enterprise has had. I think you're going to see that today. The initial consensus statement, the first workshop, have yielded truly amazing changes that have updated the groups and allowed us to really feel confident as we go forward that the work that we do will be preserved and even strengthened. I really thank all of you for appearing today with us, because we certainly need more help. And having the best minds in America looking over this program, providing us advice and thoughtful input is so important. This is just an example of where we started, 1956. This is the front sheet of the very first cancer clinical trial. It was a protocol for a cooperative study in the chemotherapy of acute leukemia by Tom Fry at the NCI, Jim Holland at Roswell Park, and George Selkirk at Buffalo Children's. This study was published 2 years later, How Things Have Changed, in Blood. So yes, things have changed in terms of the ease and rapidity with which we are able to do cancer research, but also look at the outcome for these patients, both adults and children with acute leukemia. Things have certainly changed in terms of the outcome for our cancer patients, and for that we're very grateful. So where are we today? Cancer mortality is falling. It's fallen from here yet. This is the ending in 2000 figures. And it is certainly fair to say that the U.S. Cancer Cooperative Group System have contributed substantially to this reduction in cancer mortality that we see over its 56-year legacy. But the world has changed in many, many ways, and it has become incredibly more complex and difficult and challenging to do the kind of work that we want to do. Not only more complex, but more promising, really. We've still got a long, long way to go to understand tumor biology in a way that lets us treat every single patient properly, but we have tools that we never had before. Are they going to work? We don't know, but do we need to pursue them? Certainly. These are just listing some of the new things that have appeared in our armamentarium over the past decade or so that have made things more difficult, more challenging, more expensive, but at the same time also certainly much more promising. So this is one of my mentors. I was in Dr. Folkman's lab many years ago when I was a research fellow, and he never failed to remind us this. And this is the reason I think all of us participate in cancer clinical research. As much as we love science, it doesn't mean a lot unless we change the lives of our patients. This is one of the things that I think we are now thinking about the new world and how we're going to go forward in a new and more innovative way. This is the way we used to develop new treatments for cancer patients. Very linear, very hierarchical, many ideas at the bottom, and they have to traverse this incredibly challenging, difficult path until they get to the top, the end of a phase 3 trial, usually done by a cooperative group or a big pharmaceutical industry member, and only then do they appear as a treatment for patients, as an acceptable treatment for patients. Well, we know now that in order to really achieve the promise of what we understand from the laboratory, our development model for clinical trials and for clinical care needs to be more like this. Clearly, in order to make progress faster, we need much more interchange and relativity between the laboratory researcher and clinical trials researchers at all phases of the process. How do we do this? We're not built to do this. We don't have the systems yet to do this. And this is some of the things that I think we'll be talking about today, and some of the aspects of the new development of the large clinical trials groups that are the most exciting and the most promising. So the report came out in April of 2010. It was incredibly informative and helpful. I think everyone who is part of the system who read it felt that it articulated very well both the successes and the value of the groups, as well as the really substantial challenges. I picked the bottom line here. Declining funding, inefficient processes, extensive and complex government oversight, and a lack of resources to pursue cutting-edge research hinder the cooperative groups program's ability to translate research discoveries into timely clinical applications, a crisis. And I think everyone, you will see in the review today, has responded to this crisis fully and completely to preserve this system. There were 4 recommendations, broad categories of recommendations that came out of the report. I'm just going to outline them here just as an introduction to the first session, which is going to talk about how far we've come. So the recommendations in general were, number 1, to improve the speed and efficiency of the design, launch, and conduct of clinical trials. Incorporate innovative science and trial designs into cancer clinical trials. To improve the means of prioritization, selection, support, and completion of cancer clinical trials, and to incentivize the participation of patients and physicians in clinical trials. And I think you'll see in the first session how how substantial progress has been made toward all of these really important goals. So finally, I'm just going to go over the map, the agenda for the workshop today. So you can see where we're going. The first session, as I said, is going to be about updates from the NCI and now the new National Cancer Clinical Trials Network components, a progress report. Session 2 is going to talk about funding for cancer clinical trials, obviously something that is important for everything we do, and with the current state of our economy, difficult decisions faced by our government, this is a very important topic for us. Prioritization of publicly funded trials. We will never have enough money to do everything we want to do. We need to make decisions wisely. Session 4 is about the NCTN as a platform to implement precision medicine. How can we creatively think about how we can get the most potential for this system to translate laboratory medicine into new treatments. Session 5 is about accelerating innovation through effective partnerships. No organization exists in a vacuum in our world. And then finally, a session about regulatory issues, some things that we still need to address in order to make the most progress. So with that, again, thank you very much for your attendance and participation. We hope you'll give us your ideas, have very lively discussions. This is an extremely important opportunity for those of us who work in this system to get your feedback. And now I'd like to introduce Dr. Jim Dorshow from the NCI, who's going to lead the first session.